Katrina.
I'm Gina.
I'm Christina,
and we're the Gorgeous Geeks.
And we're here today with our daddy because it's Father's Day. And
Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy.
yeah,
I'm the OG.
original geek. Ha 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 ha. Now, a lot of people ask us how we got into comic books and what inspired us. They try to school us a lot to see if we're really geeks.
Yeah.
And so here's the reason
The
why.
reason for our geekdom is our dad. So, Dad, so how did you first get interested in comic books?
Well, my father got me into comic books about, it must have been 1960, 1961, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. Superman, with George Reeves, was on TV at that time. And so my dad saw how much I liked the comic Superman. So he would always bring me a stack and of comic books home from the local drugstore. And then it just started from there and just continued. As I got older, I always just continued to buy comics, and except for a brief period, really never stopped. And and then after I had children, I decided that I wanted them to read comics because I wanted them to, most of my friends that really read comics, most of them were nice people. And so, growing up in the inner city school, you know people of all kinds. Mm-hmm. And while everybody would sit down and watch a movie, to sit down and read a book, most of my friends, they were like-minded, like me, that really would go out and buy comics and read them. They were.
So you saying comics make you nice?
No, I think you just, the people that, the heroes in there, they're smart people, they're self-motivated people, and they're good people, most of them. So I think it's a familiar chord, that people were looking for.
So what did you feel that people learned that you learned in comics that you wanted us to learn by reading it?
I learned a lot of scientific concepts. I learned a lot of, we used to call big words back then.
People still use big words. Use that phrase.
And so I learned the power of big words. I remember one time, me and a friend of mine, some of my friends, we had bought these hypnotic coins. They used to advertise in the back of the books. And we were going to try to, and we had formed a club and called ourselves Avengers. And we were going to
not take it.
so we were going to hypnotize each other because we had heard about the power of the brain that's untapped. And so we're going to hypnotize each other to use our full 100% power using the hypnotic coin. And so I remember one of the guys from the neighborhood who was let's say kind of a tough guy, but he always had something that he could play the dozens. He always had something smart to say.
The dozens means when you talk about each other's mamas.
And stuff like that. And well, we don't know why you call it dozens, because maybe you can only take a dozen of them or so before you start fighting. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted him to go. And but I couldn't just tell him to go because I wanted us to see if we could really do this or not. So I remember him looking at me skeptically, and he said, "He didn't hypnotize you for real, did he?" And so, and this guy was a tough guy. None of us really wanted to fight him. Like I said, I wanted to get rid of him. But I remember putting my glasses back on, and I said, I was in the 5th grade, so about 10 or 11 years old. I just looked up at him and said, "There is a slight possibility that he has implanted within my subconscious a post-hypnotic suggestion." And he just looked and waved his hand, and he said, "I'll ask you a simple question." He gave it all those big words and left, which is what I wanted him to do. Mm-hmm. And so I found out how people are really afraid of big words. They're afraid of appearing stupid. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite lines from Beast was, that was before he had morphed into the hairy creature, just Hank McCoy, but he says, "Docile though I may be, there are some indignities which even my countenance refuses to bear. Among those am I being prodded about like some savage animal, and among such cases I become perturbed, extremely perturbed." And so I would start quoting that from the time I was, about 10 or 11 when I first read that. And so, you learn big words, you learn scientific concepts, you learn self-reliance from these characters. So I figured if I could put that within my children, you will learn to see heroes in the comics do good because it's right. You know, they put their lives on the line, and every day without reward. And so I wanted these self-sacrificing, these good characteristics to be implanted within you, with all you guys. And so that's why I labored to have you all start reading the comics.
A lot of people are surprised when they find out that our dad is a pastor. And you know, back in the old days, they would burn comic books and stuff like that. So, would you say that there's anything wrong with reading comic books, and what do you have to say to the people who feel controversial about it?
Well, you know, I never felt. I mean, you know, it's just make believe. You know, stories. It's just putting stories to art form. I saw an interesting program because people did that. That's why a lot of the comics are in high value, because you know, back in 1950s, the total number of comics was being produced was 16 million a year. Mm-hmm. In the late 60s, it was like 13 million, and so now I think it's only like. I think it's like 3 million or 5 million, something like that. Mm. And so, even though the population has grown, tremendously since that time, because I think in 1976 we only had 220 million people in the United States, and now we have 330 million. Mm-hmm. And so the population of these comics is much smaller than it was when I was a kid. But because those people did those comic burnings and make the book burnings and stuff, that made them, rare and go up in value. And so
tell them the opportunity you had when you were in college.
Oh yeah, you want to make me sick. When I was in sophomore at the University of Michigan, and went to. We know there's other colleges in Michigan, but there's only one University of Michigan. And I went to a comic book store called The Eye of Agamotto. And
that's a perfect name for a comic book.
Yeah, and so went there, and they had an Amazing Spider-Man #1 for $300. I had about $320 in my pocket because I had just got my student loans and everything and grants and stuff, and I had about $360 left over. And if I knew I wanted to get it, but I thought about I'm not gonna have no money for the rest of the year. so I said I can't get it, and my mom would have a fit when I tell her. She grilled me about what happened to my money, so I didn't get it. So I've regretted it somewhat since that time. Not totally, because at that time my knowledge of keeping the comics in value, keeping them wasn't that great at that time, so it might end up being wasted. So, but yeah, I had a chance to get Amazing Spider-Man #1 for $300 back in September of 1975.
How much is it worth now?
I don't know.
I think
was it the Amazing Spider-Man #1 or the Final Fantasy or the Fantasy #14 where he was introduced?
It's Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Okay.
So I have no idea. Of course, it's way up in the thousands, because at that time, Action #1 was only $16,000.
Wow.
If only you would have $16,000, Father.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, a below average grade of Action Number Comics is worth 1.9. That's below average.
So, if some of you have some out there that you'd like to donate to the Gorgeous Geeks, Action #1, we will be most grateful.
Yes, we would. Yes, we would.
If only you would have kept those comics that Grandpa brought.
Yeah. And I remember, but over the years we've had a lot of books, and then when you guys were little, I teach you guys. I did teach you as best I could how to take care of the books. And you guys did pretty good, but I knew if you handled them, it would decrease in value somewhat. But I wanted you guys to have the experience of reading the books, and learn about them and handle them.
I remember I was reading this was maybe about 10 years ago. I was reading an article, and it was talking about like the top X-Men, or no, I think it might not have been X-Men, it might have been Marvel. Period. It was like the top 10 books of all times, and like the best writing, best storyline, everything. And I realized that out of the top 10, I had read 8 of them because they were in your collection.
Yep.
I was just like, wow, the top. I can't remember what the article was or anything like that, but I just remember just looking at it and just like, wow.
Some people have started collecting comic books when they were younger, and then they kind of gave up on it. Is the reason why you still read them now is because of us, or you still find them entertaining?
Well, I still find I've always found them entertaining. They've gotten more entertaining and more geared towards adult as the years have went on. I always enjoyed reading about heroic characters. Of course, when I would go to the library, I would always go to the mythology sections and read something on everything. So I was excited after reading, about Norse mythology. Then I finally was introduced to a Thor comic book. And I love Thor when I read it because this is a guy that really got mad that was normal, and
These Thor statues are actually his.
and so
Actually, that was mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, never mind.
so he was became my was my favorite, and you have a lot of heroes that you like. You think about, sometimes we play games about who'd you like to be. Today we just came back from seeing Green Lantern, and it was great to see it. I really. You were talking about the reason why you guys became Gorgeous Geeks, because you were so tired of the bad reviews that people always gave comics.
I think it was Katrina's idea.
Yeah, it was mine.
Yeah.
And so today is a classic example. I've read so many of the bad things about what they said about Green Lantern, and I'm looking at, are we watching the same movie? I mean, it was if you love comics. I don't think you have to love comics, but it was a great movie. Go out and see it. I think some people are jealous. They I don't know, maybe they're wimps and they don't like heroes and have no heroic aspirations and never did anything heroic and despise people that have a spine, and maybe that's why they hate comic book superheroes. I think some of them, if they had their way, they would do away with all of them.
I think so.
We'd all save the world like Happy Feet and dance.
And so
Happy Feet was the
Okay, we'll go back.
that
Okay.
penguin could dance though. but
Okay, but you said Thor is your favorite. So how did you like Thor?
Do you think, since you've been reading Thor since the 70s, do you think they captured Thor?
60s. I've been reading Thor since the 60s.
Excuse me. 60s.
We got 68 Thors in the room in there.
Yeah.
And so, I thought that they did as good a job as possibly. To do Thor, you have to have the voice. You have to have a strong, bellowing voice, And, one thing they didn't have in the movie was, I say thee nay! They did.
Favorite line.
Yeah.
And so,
do the Avenger quote. Like you memorize like that whole book.
okay. Well, two of my... Thor is probably the only character. No, there's a couple of them I remember a few lines, but he had some... But Thor had great lines. That's another reason I love Thor. He had great lines. And one time when him, who later became Warlock, had captured Sif, and he took Sif away, and just as he was going after him, the Norn Queen tried to take Balder, and so Thor had to stop and to save Balder, and him had took Sif away to and he was lonely. He wanted to mate with her and stuff, and Thor said, like, this is my woman, and so he escaped to another dimension, and Thor used his hammer like a hound dog to trace things across the universe, and he didn't know what he could say. I mean, if he could still find him. And so they did the brief recap at the beginning of the book. The more than calls himself him have taken my beloved, and and so Balder tried to grab him, and Thor's Thor's going on. He says, "If a galaxy protect him, then a galaxy shall crumble." and Balder says, "Take heed, Thor, thy seething rage bids fair to make thee mad." And he knocks him away and says, "Speak not to Thor of madness, but speak only of revenge! Revenge! Revenge!" And each time he busted his hammer and volcanic eruptions and stuff, such as none who live have ever known.
That's how he preaches too.
Yeah.
That's how he preaches.
And so that was one of my favorite
No,
lines.
that's about the Avengers one.
Oh, the Avengers actually was a Marvel team up with Spider-Man and Spider-Man and Havoc was in there. They was fighting the living monolith. Okay, the living monolith somehow was connected to Alex Summers. That if he could shut off Alex Summers from getting cosmic rays, that he would take these absorb Alex Summers' power, and he became this giant Egyptian-like statue. Huge, and like Statue of Liberty size, and with that added power.
Yeah.
And so in this particular book, Spider-Man was trying to stop the guy. Then he became the living monolith, and he's knocked halfway across New York, and Thor flies in and saves him. And so when Thor flies up and hits him in the face, he doesn't know. Sometimes when Thor fights people, he's being so strong, you don't know how hard to hit him. So the living monolith knocked Thor away, and so he's like, okay, now it's on now. And so to use the common vernacular of the day. And so Thor flies up and he throws his hammer and he hits the living monolith in the back and knocks him in New York Harbor. And with the force that most of New York think an H-bomb has hit. And he knocks him in the Hudson River, and he comes out with a tugboat over his head, and he says, "You caused me pain, Asgardian. I didn't think that such a thing was possible." And he says, "But now I shall slay you with this boat." And as he throws it at Thor, Thor's one hammer, blasts with his hammer, destroys the boat, saying, "I say thee nay!" And then he stands there. And with his hammer over him, he said, "I shall cause a storm that first I shall blow these sailors safely to shore, and then I shall cause a storm that the world has never seen, and then we shall see which of us is truly worthy of the title God." So that's my favorite one.
Okay, but you don't just like.
That's not the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's not the one either.
Oh, you're thinking of the one with that actually was Avengers.
Yeah.
Okay. This is number 3. Okay. In this one, Count Nefaria had that's when he first use those energy templates or whatever to be 1,000 times faster than the Wizard, 1,000 times stronger than Power Man, and somebody else's power he had too, but it was 3 of them. I forgot who the third one. And so he went to he had just whipped all the Avengers. Thor at that time, Thor was across the universe fighting. And so they didn't know how, but it seemed like whenever the Avengers got in deep at the last minute, Thor was appearing. Later on they explained it. And so the Pharaoh came back to Avengers Mansion, which at that time there was the mansion in Midtown Manhattan, knocked a hole in the wall, and he said, "So some of you did live," because he had thrown a skyscraper on a bunch of them. And so he says, "Good." He says, "Summon Thor. I want his hammer," because he believed it was the source of his immortality, and because he had the Wizard was from the 1950s, and he had tried to stop Nefaria, and Nefaria was going to choke him and was killing him, and so he says, "Go ahead, conquer the world." He said, "But how old are you, Nefaria? 50 more?" He said, "Go ahead and conquer the world, but you'll just be another Hitler that'll scar the pages of history, and you'll be gone." And so that's why he came back looking for Thor's hammer. And so they said Thor was here, then you know, I think B said if Thor was here, he'd be looking for you. You know, and so they all start fighting and he's beating everybody. Then all of a sudden the room is dark. Boom! Lightning hits. And he screams, lightning, my God. And then at the last panel it shows Thor saying, thou hast dared much, villain, but really thou shalt pay! And he throws the hammer. And so that ends that book. And then the next book, it starts, he said, light years ago, moments ago, Thor was light years away, involved in his own godlike affairs. But suddenly, inexplicably, he finds himself standing on the Manhattan rooftop, looking over his fallen comrades. And though his mind whirls with questions, his warrior heart takes command, and the sky darkens with the storm god's wrath. And so, you know, you gotta love those lines. Nobody else has lines like that. Yeah. And so he hits Nefair with the hammer, and Nefair was scared and it hurt, and it kind of hurt him, but you know it wasn't killing him, you know. And so at the end, we'll be going on with the battle a little bit. Thor says, "I have known many men like thee, Nefair, weak and evil men, who gain world-shaking might, but no greater wisdom." He said, "Thou dost crave my hammer, this power." Take, you know, have a taste of it. And so Thor starts opening a space warp to draw him away, send him somewhere across the universe. But Nefair throws a building, a skyscraper behind it as it was sucking him in to choke it off. So it was a great book, a great Avengers book. But that's why I love Thor. One of the reasons I love Thor, he got mad, he was bad, you know, kicked butt. And so, yeah, just so many reasons. His nobility, his, you know, I really love the nobility of the character too. Mm-hmm. You know, that's evident.
They did show that in the movie.
Yeah. So I thought that they caught the essence, basically, of Thor. Mm-hmm. I don't, you know, he, you know, the voice and things as I was saying and doing, that's very hard to, you know, it's hard to do. And so, but I was happy. You know, very happy with the Thor. I was really leery about them doing the Thor, because if you don't capture the essence of who Thor is, you know, Anthony Hopkins was like he was born to play Odin, and maybe somebody says it's a role he played many other times. And I really don't believe, you know, God made him be born to play Odin, but I'm just saying it was a total natural fit for him. And so. And I thought Chris, you know, did a good job with Thor. Asgard was beautiful, incredible. You know, I thought it was a twist having Heimdall played by Idris. How do you say? Artist Alba? What is it? I don't know what his name is. I never paid attention or seen him till that shit. But that was an interesting twist, and I could deal with that, because they were showing that they weren't really. I mean, that throwing them was aliens and whatever, and not really humans.
You mean not really gods?
Yeah, not really gods, but more like another species from another, somewhere across the universe. So I really liked it. I thought they caught Thor's the fury. There's some things you can quibble about it. You know, it's not scripture. You know, so you know, sometimes comic book people they're upset because the movie people take some liberties. You know, we know that Thor cannot beat the destroyer that way. We care how much lightning and stuff he put at him, he couldn't kill the destroyer. So at the end, so you know that, and just some other things. But like I said, it's not scripture. So the artists, the people have to take some liberty to make the movie work. So I'm happy to live in this day, which these characters that we have read about for so many years, that you know, we can go and see a quality product. That's believable, because you know, when I was a kid, you didn't see stuff, or if you did, it was just a joke. You know, it was a joke, and so I'm happy for these. You know, I just saw Green Lantern and loved it. We just got from that. I want to encourage everybody to go see it. I might have said it once, but I want you to go see it again. And I mean, I said it, you know, before, but that was a great movie.
I know you mentioned, you know, being in this day and time and seeing these, you know, these characters come to life. I remember being like, you know, you driving and we in the back of the minivan or whatever, and we would say like, who could play this person in X-Men? They did the X-Men movie. You know,
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, and we'd always would discuss that to see it become, you know, to life.
Patrick Stewart was our genuine choice.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And speaking of Patrick Stewart, you not just like you don't just like comic books. You love Star Trek as well.
Right.
You love anything.
We would come home after church on
Not
Friday.
anything.
What?
My mother loves anything.
We would come home after church.
Giant electrified tomatoes at 8:00 p.m. She'll watch it.
Yeah, that's our mom.
I used to say one day we gonna make a movie with just some sticks and tomatoes and stuff and some pencils in it, and see if your mother will watch it.
Put it on Satellite.
So,
But she's not gonna watch it. She's gonna DVR it so she can skip through all of our commercials.
That big commercial.
Yeah.
With the sci-fi logo on the side. She'll think it's real.
so why don't you get some tweets about somebody or some comments about make that movie? I'd like to see that. But yeah, I like.
Flying monkeys.
Well, which Star Trek did you like the most? Because you started watching Generation because actually Mom started watching it,
What's
right?
the last greatest movie of all time?
The last greatest movie of all time.
I couldn't find the words. I was trying to say
No
the
words
last
can describe
Star
it.
Trek, the
Besides
greatest
last
Star Trek
greatest movie.
at that time.
Was First Contact.
Was
First
First
Contact.
Contact.
But he ended up saying the last greatest movie of all time
So that's
was
just a
First
big joke.
Contact.
Yes,
He didn't mean to say it, but that's what came out, and it's hilarious.
I think he meant it.
Every time it comes on, we're just like, the last greatest movie of all time. None can be greater. So, Star Trek, Dad. Star Trek.
Okay, the question is.
Do you like Kirk or Picard?
That was hard.
I can't say which one I like better.
Okay,
It's
who was your
different.
favorite one?
Well, Kirk was a favorite, and I wouldn't watch The Next Generation when it come on because I was like, they can't replace Kirk. They can't replace Spock. And my wife kept watching it. I'm not gonna watch it. So finally, after a year of her watching it, and nothing else to watch, I started watching it and found out I liked it. And I have really liked. All the captains were different. I didn't care that much for Janeway. I couldn't say which one I liked the best.
You
I
like
like
Archer.
I like Archer. I was the guy for Quantum League gonna play Starship Captain, but he did a great job.
He did.
I didn't think he could.
He
I didn't
was
see
like,
him in his role as man enough to do it, but he was.
He was like a blend of Picard and Kirk.
Yeah, I would say that.
He was like the perfect blend of both of them.
I know all of our African American fans are out there probably saying, "What about Cisco?"
Oh yeah, Cisco. Cisco was one of my favorites too. But Cisco, and bringing Worf on that Worf, and they had some great things in that. But the thing I love. Okay, Deep Space Nine but the thing that just bothered me the most is 90-pound Kira fighting them Klingons. I'd almost want to turn the channel every time I saw that. They just they're just too unrealistic. But I love Cisco too.
Okay, favorite Star Trek episode?
Let's see. I would say a cross between The Visitor
That's mine. That would be mine.
and the best
That's
of
with
both.
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, Deep Space Nine. Man, we cried up a storm watching that movie.
You can't help but cry. If you can't cry, then you don't have tear ducts.
Yeah.
So, especially with, somebody like me who lost his father, when I was just 19. And so, you begin to relive some of those moments and the tragedy of that. I thought about the different dreams I've had that I found him and he was still alive. And then, he was a ghost in my dream. So that movie had that show had this girl came in there and saw me and you both sitting out there boo-hooing.
You'll be dancing in the bed crying.
Yeah. So
I'm like,
This ain't great. Our mother does not cry.
She does. She's a Vulcan.
Our mother's a Vulcan.
She is.
He married a Vulcan.
Yeah.
So she's like,
She is.
she said, "Oh, this I can't stand this woman that cries."
A Vulcan that watches highly illogical TV shows.
Very much so.
But as far as emotion,
Yeah.
I mean, she's like a Vulcan. High tolerance for pain. She had all of them natural and out of all of them natural.
7 kids.
7 kids. Gina was the smallest at 8 pounds 10 ounces, and I think I heard her in 7 births go twice, and that is not an exaggeration. That is not an exaggeration. She just has a high tolerance for pain. One time, my brother was taking her. I was out of town, and so he took her to the grocery store, and she had the Cadillac. She knew at that time that would slowly slam shut on you. So she thought it wasn't closed, and it closed down on her hand. And she told him, she said, "Hey, I can't move my hand." And he said, "You're so funny." She said, "No, I can't pull it out. It slammed shut on my hand." And he was, he said, "I'd be screaming if that was me." But that's just her. So that's why we see she's a Vulcan.
It's very painful. It's funny. She's like, my hand.
So how do we get on the Vulcan in your
We're
mind?
talking about the best episode.
The best. Our favorite episode is The Visitor. She hates
And then
that episode.
you said that your other one was the best of both worlds?
Yeah, when they if that's not my, those are two probably close.
No, which series was that for the audience?
That was Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And then Deep Space Nine was the Visitor.
The Visitor, yeah. Now
Now, what is your favorite Star Trek movie?
well, I would have to say,
We already answered this.
The last greatest movie of all time.
but a close second was The Wrath of Khan. Great lines in The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
From hell's heart, I stab at thee. With my last breath, I spit at thee.
Wasn't he quoting Moby Dick?
Yep. I quoted Moby Dick in
The last
greatest movie of all time.
Yep. So, what
If you
else?
want your movie to be awesome, quote Moby Dick.
Actually, never read it.
Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
Oh, Alfreda did a great job. Do you watch anything sci-fi now, or what are you currently reading in the comics, or?
Well, currently I'm reading, the Fear Itself series, and my time doesn't allow me to read books like I'd like to, and plus there's just so many. Probably my Thor and Avengers is probably my 2 favorite books, and
Would you read Green Lantern?
Green Lantern. Iron Man's always been a favorite, so and Wolverine after he came along, gradually I stepped. First I didn't like him, and started liking him.
He has claw marks, Wolverine claw marks.
I did not do this to be like Wolverine. I mean, it was we just was going.
He
through,
hit something instead of someone.
Yes, it was a time of great stress.
Not any of us, though.
No,
Yeah.
not any of us.
So,
I'm not going to say anything, but I just laughed one time I was at a funeral and the preacher said, "I've got some family members that will give Excedrin a headache." And that's all I got to say. So, but it's reading comics has been a wonderful experience, big part of our lives, and it's not the only part of our lives. Church and family and everything is probably the biggest. I mean, certainly the biggest.
I remember on Friday nights, when we would come home from Friday night service, we would stop at Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Or get pizza.
Mm-hmm.
if we didn't go to videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would come home and we would all sit in front of the TV and watch Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah. And Will Riker thanked me for that personally. And what he told June, he sent the
You
word.
weren't there. We
Well,
told
he
you.
when you told me. She sent the word. Tell your father, thank you. Jonathan Frakes, actually, played Will Rankin. And so, but we take our comics and Star Trek and things kind of, someone had a boyfriend at the time, and who had never watched Star Trek.
Stretching.
And so I decided to put on The Best of Both Worlds. And this guy's a college student, whatever. And so, we're sitting down putting it in. Bina and Tina and them as what? They were little. How old were you at the time? So you were 18.
I was 18, so Angelina was 8, so Sabrina was 9.
Christina was 10.
Tina was, 4?
So we're sitting around, the family sitting around, putting in Star Trek. It's starting. They're kicking their legs, little kids, excited, ready for Star Trek to start. Everybody's all watching, the whole family. I want to introduce him to, if you're interested to introduce somebody to something, so you put on your best. And we watch it in a few minutes. After a few minutes, and he says, "They're all a bunch of geeks." Now, how smart is that? When you got a whole family, grossly. My son told him, "Get out!" And this whale of protest came. I told him, I said, "You're a geek?" And he said, "Not like that." But I said, "It's 300 years in the future. What do you expect me talking about? Spark plugs and carburetors? On a starship?" And so, but
He didn't last too long.
Yeah. So.
I remember one time, it was my grandmother, his mother, she was fussing, she was talking about the Star Trek and stuff and saying that it was fake. So she was fussing. She said, "I don't like it, it's just fake." And she was talking about you for watching it and getting us involved. And you looked at it and you said, "What's fake about it? Lasers, space travel, visiting other planets,
computers that play music,
computers that talk."
So she had didn't have too much to say after that. So and then other things I liked about comics is in comics, the people, it was, nothing was impossible. These were people that used their imagination, everything they had to do great good and to overcome impossible odds. Mm-hmm. And I wanted that to be embedded in you guys, and that's why I encourage you, to read comics. As a kid growing up, who was just a, I jokingly say I'm an OG, the original geek, which is really kind of played. My neighborhood, some people want to be, my own neighborhood people want to be, their OG stands for original gangsters. Well, when they was trying to be original gangsters, I was trying to be original geek, and I enjoyed it. We didn't have that term back that time. We was called professors. Now, I was an athlete too, and I thank God for the ability that I could take care of myself, with anybody, in the neighborhood. So it didn't get, it wasn't too bad, but, they called me professor, but I reveled in taking my briefcase. I reveled in being smart. I reveled in being different, I didn't want to be like everybody else. I enjoyed, people like Data and stuff like that, fascinated me. Spock fascinated me. So, as, they were the only one kinds, but heroic individuals who were smart as well. And so, that's why I had you guys, reading comic books. And Christina, when she was a baby at 5 years old, I used to look in her eyes and I could say, she just had an unusual, she had an unusual will, and you could see something was going on in that brain that wasn't quite normal. And
that's one way to put it.
Her will scared me a little bit. I pray for God to give me wisdom how to harness that, and also, she just, You know, God has blessed all of them with great skill and everything. But I must say that I am the wellspring from which they flow.
And Mom was just there.
She was the vessel. I am the wellspring. So,
Okay.
so, no, just kidding. You know.
Okay, closing thought. I think you're a good daddy and the best. Tell our viewers how they can be good daddies.
Well, the best thing, you know, that I can try
Are
to
you
get-
teary-eyed?
He is. He's the best
Well,
daddy
maybe-
in the whole world.
No, we do have a story that we don't want to leave without telling. That's cool. Well,
My contacts are drying out.
well, you know, it's growing up, you know, in the neighborhood, growing in the inner city, is very macho, and so a lot of people have misconceptions on what being a real man is, being a real father is. You know, there's a scripture in Ecclesiastes that says, "Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." And as I read the good book, I found that there's so much wisdom that it teaches you how to be a good father, how to be a good wife, and if we follow those principles, which we do have put in place, then you will have a happy family. There's 9 of us here. And just for instance, the Bible tells a man to love his wife as he loves his own body. Mm-hmm. And for the wife to revere her husband, mm-hmm. to hold them in high regard and esteem. And so not to sit around and belittle him all day long. Like that's the custom with a lot of wives. Mm-hmm. The Bible tells us to not let the sun go down upon our wrath. So don't carry and hold grudges. Mm-hmm. Me and you are really like this one. That nobody has the power to deny one another sex. The Bible says, defraud not one another.
That's why they have 7 kids.
Yeah.
So
They defrauded not.
so you sex is not supposed to be sex is not supposed to be used as a weapon. Nobody. The Bible says that you don't have power over your own body. Mm-hmm. So a woman is not supposed to tell the man no. Mm-hmm. So
And vice versa.
And vice versa. And the Bible says, render unto one another due benevolence. You know, the kindness and everything that they do.
Like each one, they are owed. If you're married to them, you owe them in love and consideration and compassion. That's their due.
Right.
That is the benefit they have of marrying you. And you had said something the other day, because I was asking you about marriage and relationships, and you said the vows are for better or for worse, and worse is going to come, but let worse come from outside sources, not you inside, not the two inside, you know, throwing worse at each other.
Right.
Because worse is going, worse is going to come.
Right. Now it can come from, also can come from sickness, and that's not something that you can help.
Right.
And you're supposed to stick with each other for better, for worse.
But also there's another scripture that a lot of people don't know about, is that what's it? Fathers, do not provoke your children
To wrath. And so you know, when you have, we all stay together here because we're happy. You know, we have a great time with one another, as you see. This is just natural. You know, what you see us doing today. We have a bunch of laughs. And
We're not scripted. I don't know why people think that.
How can we scripted? There's like there's
because
there's
most
a million.
people aren't this funny. They aren't this good. So
There's no teleprompter. There's got to be one here and one there and one there.
So I can't follow. You know, I don't have teleprompters, but I'm not even good at following notes. You know, I have my scriptures and stuff. But I'm just an
We
impromptu
were
type of
raised
guy.
by a pastor. We're used to improving.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the scriptures, I know a lot of people don't like to, but you don't know what's in them, you know, and Jesus said, the words I speak to you, they are spirit and they're life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow these, that you will have an abundant life. We are tremendously happy because we follow what the scriptures say. Well, there's a point when fathers can be so mean and they can be so tough. The father's supposed to be the priest in his home. That's his job. Figure out to point the way to righteousness and salvation, and raise up his children to be and to be women to be virtuous women and the men to be strong. For all of them to we raise the men and women to both be strong, and the biblical version of a woman, she's a thinker, she's a businesswoman, she takes care of her family, and so
a lot of people don't know that when
Right.
the Bible talks about a virtuous woman, like more than half of the in the 31st chapter when it
Proverbs.
Proverbs, 31st chapter in Proverbs,
which means wisdom sayings. That's
Right.
what Proverbs is.
right.
Each saying is a gem. It's a wisdom saying.
But it like in the 31st chapter, when it talks about when it's describing a virtuous woman's attributes, over half of those scriptures deals with her as far as as an entrepreneur or making money or making business decisions.
Right.
It's not having home cooked meals at a certain time. It's
Not that it's saying don't do that, but it's
but it's dealing with one how she it's made. Sorry.
no, that's all right. This is one of Gina's favorite messages, if you couldn't tell. But that's what the scriptures do. They will help, and that's why we're happy, because we follow them. I believe God is omniscient, He's all knowing, and we got a DVD called Basic Scientific Secrets of the Bible. We proved that the Bible is true, and many other things. He's the greatest intelligence the world's ever known. If we follow His wisdom, we'll be blessed. And the older I get, the more I realize I need to follow, and I find the wisdom of those words in the books. If you want to have a happy family, get the Word, read the Word, follow what it says, and live by it. That it gets in your heart. That's who you are. David said, "Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee." And so, in closing, a family has got to be a place of love. Where everybody's walking in love towards one another, where everybody's honoring one another. You honor your children. You don't provoke them to wrath. You set the rules of what things have to be, but you got to just have wisdom in dealing with. I have 7 children. All of my children are different, and we have to deal with all of them differently. And there's one particular time, I guess we'll close with the story, when Gina was going to she was in elementary, and I had to come up and watch the playground, watching one on the playground for his parents helping out, and I was bored out of my mind, and just standing around just watching the kids, and I saw one guy trying to lift up another guy, proving how strong he was.
Well, one kid lifting up another kid.
Yeah, another kid lifting up another kid. So they were about 2nd and 3rd grade, and that brought back memories, because I used to wrestle in high school, and I was always a wrestler, when I was in elementary. It was always me and some guy wrestling. The 2 of us, and other kids were all doing other things, but I always loved wrestling. And so it brought back, smiled and brought back memories. I said, well, I've seen that before. And so I said, oh, okay, you can do that. So I said, I think you're strong. So I picked the kid up with one hand. They go, wow. And do me. And so I said, no, let me do something different. And so this one, I picked him up and I threw him in the air. And then I caught him. And so then his friend said, do me. Do me. They jumping up and down excited. The kids always love when I did that. So I did him. And then it was the 3rd one that said, do me. And I did the 3rd one. And when I came down with the 3rd one, I heard a choir. And when I had him here, I heard it was a chorus of voices. And I was surrounded by a sea of children who had left every swing, slide, football thing, everything, and they were saying, do me, and their eyes were just lit up with just such a sadness. Please, kind sir, do me. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know how they all ran that fast, you know. But it was like they was all teleported around me all of a sudden. And, you know, their hearts was just, you know, just with such anticipation. Do me. And so I said, what any loving father would do in that position, I said, single file.
It was like 120 kids.
So, and when the teachers would just come outside and they were just looking in amazement. One teacher come up to me, "Dads are so great," you know.
Yeah.
And
I remember being, I was on the merry-go-round, and all of a sudden it was just like all these kids were just running. Everybody was just screaming, and I'm looking, and I'm like, they're running to Dad? Like, what's going on? But then, like, one of the coolest things was, like, you came back maybe, like, a week later. And because, like, at Oakland Christian was, like, this really steep hill that went down to the playground. And I remember I was on the merry-go-round. And I remember all the kids just started running and screaming. And I looked, and the whole playground was running to you.
Yeah.
And even though I was at the bottom of the hill and you was at the top, I could still see you smiling.
Yeah, that was quite a moment.
Yeah.
But there's one other story during that time where it was the heavy kid.
Yeah.
You know, the heavy kid. And you could tell that.
Well, I remember it was this one kid on the playground.
Well, I'm throwing all these others out.
Well, the first time he was there. And it was one kid that had gotten in line, and he was the heftiest kid on the playground. And people was actually kids was actually telling him, like, get out of line, you too fat, he not gonna be able to pick you up.
Poor kid.
You
He
know.
still believed.
He
believed in
did.
himself.
He believed. You know, but he said he was like, you gonna waste somebody else's time. Somebody else ain't gonna get to go because your fat butt is in the line.
Yeah.
Kids are so mean.
So
They're so mean.
It was telling him to get out. So he was just like, people was pulling on him and he was pushing. And so they was like, somebody was like, Gina, your daddy gonna pick him up? And I was like, I don't think so.
And you didn't believe.
I didn't believe. That kid had more faith. And I'm sitting up there and I'm just like, but I guess I didn't think about Gino. But it
So we just play it.
But he had a. But I remember when he came to, he just stood in front of the, like, everybody just stopped talking. It was like a hush. And so he just kind of like just looked up at Dad like, please.
Yeah.
Please try, kind sir.
Please be able to do it, you know.
Because he came to him with all the faith that a child had.
And hope, he had hope too. He was
Yeah.
fear. So I leaned down and I whispered in his ears. I said, you're going to have to help me a little bit. I want you to bend down and jump with me. You know. And he
Well, at least you
did.
did that so that no other kid could hear.
Right,
So that's
right,
very
right.
nice and kind of you, Dad.
Yeah.
And so I threw him up and all the kids were like, oh man, did you see that? He picked up Joe or whatever his name was, you know. Oh, so.
Well, he might come across this video and be like, it was you. He probably lost all of his weight, ended up becoming some type of fitness person. Like, I started my life over the day that Mr. Barr came through me. Changed my life.
We come before you on this Father's Day. They wanted me to share some of these stories, and we hope that you have been blessed and entertained and encouraged to have your children read comics, let them learn the lessons, pick up the good book, because those are some of the most fascinating stories in there that you'll ever see and read. That's not just commandments, but you read some of the things Moses did, Elijah did, David,
Gideon.
300 got nothing on Z bag.
yeah,
That is true.
you know, some amazing things. The first hit tune was written because of David. The women were singing, Saul has killed his thousands, but David has killed his 10,000s. And it's so much in there. And but like I say, these are words and they're life. And I just wish that everybody could be as happy as we have been. We haven't always had a lot of money, and but sometimes we just, we've had our struggles like everybody else, maybe more so than others because of our, living in ministry. But we have all been so very, very happy and count ourselves blessed And because the principles and guidelines which we walk by. And we would like to encourage you to take these same principles and stuff. You can call me preachy or whatever, but hey, that's what I am. We're trying to just help people. And I hope we've helped you today.
Well, that's our daddy.
Yes,
Reverend Keith Barr. Keith Gino Barr. The KGB.
That's right.
Reverend Keith Gino Barr.
You can go to his YouTube page.
Or just Google Keith Gino Barr.
Reverend
Yeah.
Keith Gino.
You'll get
Gino
a
Barr.
bunch of information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you, Daddy.
Thanks
Oh,
for
you're
joining
welcome.
us.
You're welcome. Give daddy a kiss, babies.
Wait, did you shave? You did. Okay.
No kiss for
You
me.
didn't kiss us. You
Oh.
didn't. Say that.
So, that's another thing I did when we was little. I made them, I kissed them every day. And so that they wouldn't lose their mind. They knew that daddy told them they were pretty every day. So they wouldn't lose their mind over the first guy that tried to tell them they were pretty. And I had to prepare them for the brother's game. So they wouldn't be taken advantage of. And help them become strong, independent, and secure.
It's very true. I've never fallen for any man's game, and I never will.
That doesn't mean that we don't want them to get married. We're taking biddings. And no, we're just kidding. But we do want them to.
The highest bid, huh? The dowry.
Yeah, they got to pay me, Jack. And and still you got to meet the qualifications on top of that.
Yeah,
And-
don't diss Star Trek. You're gonna get thrown out the house.
So, but anyway, like I said, our home is a home of love because we follow these principles. And so I thank God for all of His many blessings. It's been a good life, and amen.
Well, I'm Katrina.
I'm Gina.
I'm Christina,
And we're the Gorgeous Geeks.